Welcome everybody, welcome to the Tomb of Illumination, where we talk about the realm we live in, which is illuminated, a 3D illumination from a 2D plane. We'll get into that a bit more later on, but today's video is about the moon phasing, an updated version from the last one of mine. I just had a look at it, someone made a comment, and I realised that was badly explained. So I'm doing it again. Okay, with a little bit more knowledge now, because that was an old video. So, for you people that believe you live on the outside of a spinning ball, this is going to be a bit complicated for you to understand. So, you might want to go get a big person who can think properly, think for themselves, beyond the indoctrination. I'm going to take you right through it, okay? So, you flat earthers out there have a bit more nous than the average globie. Might want to take a photo, because this is fact, and you won't have to ask again what the moon is, so, and what it's doing, how it's phasing. First off, what is the moon? Well, the moon is the 3D projected image from the 2D plane. So I had to rub part of my flat earth image off here. But imagine there's your centre north, right? There's the ecliptic plane. That's the first state. That's reality. Everything comes from there. It's a 3D projection down here. That is where the moon is. The sun is up here on the horizon of the black hole, like this. That's what I meant to do. Check out, ask Google, where is the sun in relation to the black hole in science? They don't actually tell you that's the sun when they draw the picture of the black hole and show you that swirling, moving thing. That is the black hole, and the sun is on the horizon, okay? That's what gives it this egg shape, like this. The elliptic shape. But back here to the 2D plane is the ecliptic plane. All the planets go around it, and the sun is on the horizon of the black hole. It moves. And it's the king, it's the master. He rules over everything. So he's ruling over our 3D projection. Everything in here is the projection into our realm. It's projected to create our realm. It's the holographic projection of this 2D plane. The moon is in here, it's not up there. If you brought it all back, it becomes a 2D plane. And the moon would just go straight into the sun, and you wouldn't see a moon. It's come out, so it's like the negative image of the sun doing its thing. Okay, it's due to the spiral and the position of the black hole being the dead center is what's casting the moon out as it spirals. Okay, so you've got to imagine this is spiraling water, actually vortex water, and the moon is going with it in relation to the positioning of the sun, whichever way it's pointing. Okay, so realize 2D plane, you're now seeing the sun as the moon doing a 3D projected realm cycle. Okay, hold that in your mind as we move on. So to understand the phasing of the moon, you have to go back to creation. Forget what we are seeing in our sky, because that's the projected image. You have to go back to creation, right back to there, and seeing what's in here. And this is what I've drawn here, right? So you understand it. The black hole center of creation, which is above the Arctic, and the sun on its horizon gives it this egg shape. That's the actual egg, cosmic egg there, okay? The golden egg. And the sun moves around the black hole. It's turning all the time. That's the black hole. It's turning, isn't it? But in the center is dead stationary, fixed and stationary. And that is where Earth is from, Earth itself. But everything that moves around us is in the 3D imaging, thanks to the light of the sun. The light, the black hole is the magnification, but the light of the sun shows us everything we need to see. It's the light that illuminates the depth, 3D depth from the 2D plane. So as the sun moves around the black hole, as the sun, like the sun points across the black hole, right? So if the sun's there, there's the new moon, totally unseen in the light of the sun. So let's say it's turning that way, follow the arrow, actual sun going this way. That means, you know, that's the sun side. You're not seeing that side of the moon. You're seeing the moon. The moon is self-illuminating. So the part of the moon we see is the part, like that part is shadowed by the black hole. Okay? So as the sun turns facing, moving around like, oh, it's going this way, isn't it? It's going that way. So with that's positioned there now, the sun is here, in this direction, going this way. So you've got to have a one cycle, 14-day cycle here. Then you have to have the reverse cycle down here. So it gets a bit confusing when you see it like this. The sun's going to come around like this. So no, you've got to concentrate on 14 days there, 14 days here, which would take you into this image here. Understanding this image. The yin and the yang. See the yin and the yang? Two shapes. The magnetic field coming out of the centre north. This side is opposite to this side, isn't it? The phasing. Okay? Depending on which way the sun's facing. So if the sun is always projecting out on a magnetic field line. That's the focal point. All humans will see the sun on that focal point line there. So one magnetic field line, say. It's anywhere around there. No matter where you are laterally, you'll get an image and it'll be on that line somewhere at that precise time, all the way out to the tropics. Okay? If you're in the north, and it's actually reversed if you're in the south. Getting a bit complicated for you if I start talking about the south now. So concentrate on the northern hemisphere. So the magnetic field comes out, the toroidal field comes out of the north. Does not go in like they tell you, it's total bullshit. It rises up out of the north just as it rises up out of the south. Because it goes down and in at the tropics, either side of the tropics. If you've got this, you've got a 14-day system this side, 14-day system this side. Or follow the yin and the yang, this side and that side. It does this S-curve. And there's the S-curve there in the vortex. So this part of the moon here is self-illuminating because it's the shadow of the black hole via the sun. Okay? So you've got to imagine, it's hard for me to explain everything. So wherever the sun is, and its direction is phased out the moon, you can't see it. But this part, because look, it's smaller than the black hole. It's about twice the size. You can actually see that on the 2 or 4 times the size. Can't remember. You can see it on the if you look at some moon eclipses. Follow the shade line. Compare it with the diameter of Mars, the moon. You'll find it's a lot bigger. This arc is a lot bigger than the moon. So there you have it. It's the phasing, okay? Self-illuminating. And this is the side that's shown up because it's the shadow. I call it the shadow of the sun because it's via the black hole. So the black hole is creating a shadow of the sun onto here. The shadow. That's the sunny side, okay? Just like down here on Earth actually. Now realise the black hole and everything, the sun is all tucked into the Milky Way. Okay? The Milky Way goes all the way around this area, but you don't see the stars on the sunny side and the sun's shining through it, do you? You only see the back side. and the very back side is where we see full moon. Full moon is right out there towards Sagittarius, Saturn. It winds all the way out to there, out to the furthest point with the ecliptic plane. And that's because the sun is directly shining away. But as the sun comes around and starts aiming towards the moon, it draws the moon in. Then they become new moon. And as the black hole turns, the sun turns and moves away from the face of the, going this way, the face of the, well, this way. In this case, it would be that way, maybe, whatever. Confused myself. As the sun turns away from the moon starts moving out. Okay? Out. And when the sun comes around to catch up, starts coming back in. So I realise the sun is quicker than all the celestial bodies. It laps the moon over 1 month. And it laps the stars over 1 year. But not quite. I've done a video on that just recently. So let's go over a few things here, eh? Magnetic field, the snake. That was in another video. To understand moon phases, we must go back to creation, the place of projection. The sun laps the moon over 1 month. Question. Well, this is sort of related. Question. Is the precession of the sun moving quicker inside the Milky Way, or are there actually background stars separated to the Milky Way stars? So you've got to imagine the sun there, and it's projecting everything out. So all the stars in here, you can imagine it here being projected out to where we see them out here, right? So are all the background stars part of the Milky Way, or are they separate? I'm thinking it's all part of the Milky Way. But we see a Milky Way, an image, moving across the sky, the umbilical cord of creation, and all the stars out there. So whether there is some parallax between that Milky Way moving across the stars, background stars, that's what I've been saying. I'm not too sure, I haven't got a telescope. But remember, all the energy is back at the hole and then reduces the further out. So the sun is going to have to be quicker than the Milky Way, which it is. It actually slips ahead in there. So whether that's the precession of the equinoxes or another motion over thousands, maybe millions of years, because you know science talks about all sorts of motions. Otherwise, precession is, check out my earlier video, one I did yesterday. So we see the sun out here as a disk projected image in the moisture filled atmosphere. Okay? And then you consider how you're seeing the moon. You've got to imagine that. This is only a 2D plane I've drawn this on, haven't I? So you imagine 3D, your black holes are horizontal, but all the images out in our sky, you can imagine they're disks projected like this. So this comes up like this, and it's shaded wherever the sun is, shaded. The black hole shades this part in the sunlight, so you can say that there's the sun coming down hitting this side, but what's left, this part, that's not quite right. You can try and figure that one out yourself, it's a bit tricky to explain. But that is the shaded side of the black hole, where the sun is not passing through. So you can imagine the sun over here, say, it's illuminating that, but not that part. The black hole is the amplifier of the frequencies that create our realm, while the sun's light shows us the amplification, the 3D depth, within the 3D projected depth, which is magnetism. It's all magnetism. Gravity is magnetism. Gravity is just the same as the inertial plane. The two forces of nature coming together. So if you try to escape, you're going to fall back down to the plane of inertia. It's what they call the dielectric dialect, can't remember the phrase, a lot of flat earthers use it. While the sun is really critic depth, which is magnetism. We all exist in the 3D depth of a flat 2D plane, which is 0 point. 2D plane, 0 point. Of the two forces of nature being the neutron or neutral between the north and the south pole. Okay, so every magnet has this black hole center where it's one pole avoids the other. They do not marry. If they did, they would annihilate each other, find equilibrium and come to rest, and nothing would exist. There's always this action of avoidance in our realm. Always seeking equilibrium, a balance, but never getting there. If it did get there, bingo, it creates a black hole, place of rest. Then everything stops, fixed and stationary. As the sun moves on ahead, the moon moves out, then vice versa. The seen side of the moon is the shadowed side, thanks to the black hole blocking the sun's rays. Okay? So always just think of the moon you're looking at as the shadow of the sun via the black hole blocking it. The moon is self-illuminating. The sun's electromagnetism cancels out the moon's magnetism. There's one way of putting it. I'm not sure if that's correct. Same thing happens with planets. Well, it happens with the planets though. During a solar eclipse. Cancels out the sun. Because the sun needs 1/7 from the moon. There was no moon in the realm. Yeah, it gets tricky too. The moon is made up of the 7 of the light spectrum that we know of, and it needs the 1/7 from the moon. So if the moon gets cancelled, or a planet's on the alignment, it cancels that frequency from the moon, from the sun. Okay, in that part of the world, because you go back to those magnetic field lines, because the whole sun doesn't disappear, does it? It's just that part. It's the alignment. Because our whole realm is based on frequencies. From the water, it all comes from water. Everything starts with water. The frequencies, the sound, solar luminescence, light, solar luminescence, gas, water, different gaseous states, pressure, all these things, it's all to do with water. Our atmosphere is full of water. Our atmosphere is layered as the firmament, because it's made up of gas and pressure, different gaseous states and different pressure bands. Those bands hold the frequencies. Frequency bands, how we send frequencies across the ether, different bands, and the gas are the bands. It's the inert gases. If the firmament was solid, which it's not, well, it cannot be solid, you've got to think of that being gas. Inert gases, they're inert. They do not mingle with each other. Are they solid? Do they not mingle because they're solid? No. It's to do with gas. Pressure starts from water. The gas separates through ionization as it goes up, as it elevates. And the ionization takes place in the tropical gap. All the magic's in here. Okay, that's where the war is. All the ancient stories talk about war and sea. They talk about the atmosphere. The sea is up there, not down here in our silly physical world. You've got to realise they're talking about the sea up here, the moisture in the atmosphere. And there's the war going on. That's what the Iliad's all about. Trojan War. And there and there. That's why Mars is considered the planet of war. Because Mars is in the centre, isn't it? Right there. You've got Jupiter and Saturn out here, and you've got Mercury and Venus and Mercury in here. So then we have the amplification of the stars projected out into our realm of the light spectrum as solar luminescence in the water. We see the moon out here as a disk in the moisture-filled atmosphere that we see it out here. This is not where, this is back at creation. So imagine it being projected out. We can only get a 2D disc from a projection. Can't get a 3D if it's projected from the center out here. The moon is self-illuminating, the sun's electromagnetic being over that. New moon in the face of the sun. The sun's always projecting across the dead center of the hole. It's always via dead center of the hole. That's what the zodiac's all about. Everything is based on the dead center of the zodiac. Polarities directly across the zodiac. Okay, so I've been over everything here. You should take a still frame and think about it. Concentrate on it. Okay? Realize everything's all moving in the one direction. Okay? But the sun is quicker. So slipping ahead. Enough to lap the moon over 1 month. So it probably doesn't quite lap the moon because it doesn't quite lap the stars over a year. So it's probably similar. Okay? And realize as the sun's turning towards the moon's being drawn into the center. As it's moving, as it shines away, takes off ahead of the moon will drift out. And it's got to do with this 3D S-curve. Okay? So this is full moon right out here, which is supposed to be out by Saturn. Coming, winds back in, is in here. So this is just a monthly cycle, this S. Obviously it's going around every day. Okay? To come right back into the centre of the gurgler, which is there, right up close to the sun. You've got to imagine bringing that back down to 2D. So the moon comes right back into the face of the sun. Well, that's as good as I can explain it. The cosmic egg shape, that's why it's an egg shape, but the black hole is actually circular. All the planets do not pass the sun because the sun is quicker. So all the planets on the ecliptic plane are doing circles. Nothing goes around the sun. That's all hoo-hoo. No. The sun will catch up to it and pass it. And don't start fantasizing that once the sun gets there, you see a loop in the planets. That's different. Okay? So the planets are always going round and the sun catches up and passes them. Check out my earlier video, the precession of the equinoxes and stuff. Okay, well if you like this sort of thing, please share it, put a thumbs up, and think about joining my Patreon. We're about to make a big reveal. It's going to cost a few bucks for the initial video, the foundation. You need the foundation of that video to understand everything that I'm going to be releasing. It's going to be mind-blowing. Never before described. Lots of things you've known about in history, you haven't been able to put them together. I'll give you the picture. You can start putting everything together. All religion, most ancient philosophy, related to the zodiac, plenty of stuff. Not on my mind at the moment. But shoot on over to Patreon. Cheers guys. Thanks for watching.